And in a minute, I am going to step to the side and Constance is going to step up here. And Marianne and Constance, our great people, are here, are going to give us a little Zen workshop on Zen forms. And I fully expect to come away enlightened and knowing things that I never knew before. This is our last sitting of 2024. We will not be here. We will be here again the week of January 6th. Which is the inauguration, I just realized. No.
No,
Yeah, that's
20.
In a few more days.
We will be here, but for the next 2 weeks, the second week, some of us will be at Tassajara, with the wildland firefighters, which will be wonderful. And, I fully expect and know that everybody will take good care of each other and
And
you practice and. When we come back, we're gonna focus on Sandokai and use Suzuki Roshi's branching streams flow on in the darkness. I will stress again before I step away, because somebody said to me, I was talking to somebody yesterday and they said they were bemoaning.
we might need that.
Oh, you might, you're gonna come over here, okay.
I'm gonna bring you the other folding table and Constance.
Well, let's let you finish what you were
Oh,
saying.
oh, they were bemoaning that they were a terrible practitioner and student, more or less, because they never studied anything. And they never read books, and I said this before, that's my job. No, I mean, if you want to study, I didn't study for decades. If you like to study, please study. I just give you these so that if you like them, you can look at them, but please don't, we'll go back to, this is a body practice. And studying sutras, everything is beautiful, beautiful, please, if that's where you are and what your life allows, but please don't put on top of yourself with any of this that you're not a Buddha and a good enough practitioner if you're not doing whatever your idea is that what you're not doing. Okay.
Okay.
This Monday, Wednesday, Friday will be happening.
Oh, that's right. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning sittings will continue. So please flood the gates. Please sit steady and strong for all of us. And okay.
Chris will need chant books, right?
No,
They're
no,
in charge.
we'll take care of you.
Zazen as a technique, or as an exercise, or even as a religious observance. Zazen is literally an attitude. So it's not a discipline, and it's not something external or imposed. It is an expression of our deepest human gesture of our heart. I thought that was really helpful to kind of understand what we're doing here for service and also today. And I just wanted to say, I think everybody on the Doan Rio knows that I love bells. It's just, I love bells. And there's two reasons. I was thinking that there's two reasons why I love the bells. One is that I get to communicate with everybody without words. Just through the bells. There's 4 people on the Doan Rio, and I'll go into that in just a minute. But it's like I get to talk to them, and then I get to talk to the whole sangha through the bells, because the bells tell you what's going on, and it's kind of like a language. The other reason is that when I do the bells, it's like I'm just focused on the bells. And it's this experience of like my body just completely drops away. And it's like I can just be with the bells and with what we're doing as in the service. So we talked about the plan. I'm going to talk first a little bit about the service that you'll be seeing in just a moment. And if you have any questions, please, at any time, raise your hand, and we'll try to answer your question. And all of this, I think, will probably end up on the website. And so you'll be able to explore it in more detail. And the practice period I mentioned, or the dawn practice is on February 8th. So if you're so inclined, please do sign up. So if I asked a couple people to pass out.
Not yet. I have
Oh,
something
yeah,
to
please.
say. Are you finished with?
I am
your-
finished.
So, before we pass that out, so, just remembering that, this then form of the service, it's a container, right? At the service we're gonna do in a moment, it holds us. And all the bells and everything hold us. And we're all connected together. It's not rules, perfection's not required, merely intention to be present and enter. And then I wanted to say one other thing. You know, we're lucky, right? We get to come in and do service sometimes, and when we come, it's usually a certain way. And if you go to the Berkeley Zen Center or to City Center or Green Gulch or wherever, or even somewhere in another part of the country that's a Soto Zen place and they do service, you will probably feel fairly comfortable because the forms will be generally the same. They may not chant on all one note, they may actually use some tunes. Oh my God, some sanghas use tunes for the chants. But you'll be comfortable so you can release yourself and enter fully into the service and let it act on you non-verbally, non-cognitively, deeper. And the other beauty about that we have this service is, say you go somewhere and you hear the talk and it wasn't so great, right? Because sometimes that happens, talks aren't always great. The present company accepted. Yeah. But if you're doing service, the service form is there, so no matter what, it's not about personalities. It's not even about the personality of the teacher. It's about entering into the form of the service where you get to give yourself fully. So that's important, and it's a gift we have with having this form of service. Okay, Constance,
So if you
now.
now if you can pass the.
You wanted screen share now?
Yes, and if you're online, and you have a question, so I won't be able to see you. If you have a question, please. Use that.
Or chat, they can put it in chat.
Are there enough? Or do we
Yes,
need to share?
No,
Okay.
thanks. Okay, so what we have. Wait before everybody gets it.
Did Chris get a coffee?
I don't know.
Well, there should be plenty.
There should be plenty.
Oh, there it is.
Does everybody have one?
I can give up mine. We've got enough, because
No, we've got plenty for good, we're good.
we got extras.
Okay, so. What you see before you is the script that the Doan Rio uses, to do the service. And there's 4 roles I spoke of earlier, there's 4 roles to the Doan Rio. First is the Doki, who's the priest who comes to make the offering. The Doan is the person that rings the bells. The Kokyo is the person that leads the chant. And the Mukukyo player is the person that plays the drum. And I think Debbie said at one point that the name of the Mukukyo player is actually Fukudo.
That, I read that somewhere, I don't know if it's true.
But we don't need that. It's the Mukukyo player. So, so when you're looking at this, you're seeing a whole bunch of dots, both all through the ceremony. And so what are these dots? there's blue dots, there's red dots, there's a little square, there's an X, and there's arrows that go up and down. And if you look at the very beginning, when the doshi, is standing at the back of the.
Should I stand there and be a mime? Or not?
Would that be helpful? Okay,
Yeah, I don't know, let's see, I can turn this so that it will maybe show what I'm doing. Think that can do it. Yeah. So the doshi's standing.
that doshi is standing at the back of the mat. And the first part of the service starts. So the doshi. And makes an offering, and musical and silence. And then, when she steps back, there's a bell.
Can you put your fingers on that little first blue bell that you see?
Right.
So you really see it. That's the bow.
And then the next bell comes halfway back from the mat.
Oh,
She's gonna go back to the back of the mat. And then she bows at the mat. And then she's putting her bowing cloth down. And then you'll see a whole series of blue dots, and I'm sure you're wondering, what is this? It's like, do I have to count them out? But actually what this is a roll down. And the roll down is basically for people to get prepared to do bowing. Doshi puts down her cloth during the roll down, and anybody else that has a bowing cloth will put down their cloth during that time. So a roll down is, I'll demonstrate it to you.
well, what's happening?
And what I usually do during this time is I kind of scope out, make sure everybody's got their cloth down and that's when I end. So when everybody's ready, then the doshi is going to be ready to bow.
Let me just ask
Yeah.
you guys, because I can see the screen. Do you want a shared screen still of the script, or do you want the two of you?
I dropped it out because I knew they couldn't see anything and
I think that having her in front is probably the best way to go.
Perfect.
so.
So then you'll see a red dot, and it's a large red dot, and that means that it's a large bell. So do you have a question?
Constance, so is there a pause between the roll down and the doshi begin?
Not necessarily.
Well,
A
hopefully.
little bit.
There should be, because the doan is watching. And when the doshi's kind of done and is standing like they want to do it,
Then there might be a
a
pause.
little pause.
Yeah, a little pause. So so the doshi goes ahead and does the first bow. And the doan rings.
Who's in charge, the doshi or the doan?
The doshi is in charge.
Follow the doshi. So if the doshi stands here for 10 years, they don't ring that bell.
Yes. So the doshi does one bow, and then she does a second bow. And then she does a third bow. And then when her head touches the mat, that's the fourth large bell. And then at this point, the doshi goes back to do a second offering.
A question to answer, while I do this, the doshi's gonna do this, right? Oh, I'm getting ahead, sorry.
That's okay. So the doshi does the offering, and then when she steps back, there's another bell. And then she's preparing to do another 3 sets of bows. And wanted to say something about this.
It's why you guys don't do this second set of bows, do you? No. I think, can I say?
Sure, go ahead.
And then you may add, I think it's because the doshi is going ahead and gonna do these bows on your behalf because you're gonna be getting ready to chant. And there was no midway back bell, so that's kind of a cue. You're probably not gonna do, there's no need to put down, there's no roll down. So go ahead,
One
Constance.
thing one thing that is really good about the bells is that if you're in the back of the zendo or you're out in the garden or something, with the different kinds of bells, you know what's happening. And so you know when you're in the back of the zendo that when you hear the large bell ringing, you know that the doshi is bowing at that time. And either if it's in the beginning of those three bows, then you can you will bow. But then you know that the next section is that you just wait for the doshi to complete her bows. So then she bows. And then the third bow is different. It's called a stop. And what the
Do you see that square?
that's the square, that's the stop. And it sounds like this.
That's
And that
Down.
is a indication to the Tokyo to start the first chant. And she doesn't wait until everything's done. She just goes ahead and starts chanting the next chant. So what questions do you have? I mean, is this making some sense?
Can you visualize it when it happens? Good,
We have a question online.
yes.
What do I do when I visit another Zen center and their service or vows are different? Correct
They'll
them.
probably be fairly similar.
Hit your back.
Follow along, do what everybody else does. But it'll be pretty similar. That's the point. It usually is similar.
So,
Yeah.
so the question, this is Christine, the question goes on, and I'm the one who wrote it. So Upaya is right up the road from me,
Yes.
and they have really, really changed the Bodhisattva vows.
Well, the text may be different. Yeah, they may change the wording, different translations, and even have a different tune.
Yeah, they
In
do.
that case, you go with them, do what they do, but it's still, it's the Bodhisattva vows.
Yeah.
I was at a memorial service for a person who practiced at City Zen, which is a slightly different lineage. And they did the Bodhisattva vows at the end of the service, but they sang them in a very lovely tune and a different translation. But I knew I was doing the Bodhisattva vows. And that's important.
Constance?
Yes.
For those of us who physically can't do, a prostration down and we just bow standing up, I was taught that you also do this. But I think I've noticed that it's not done with our sangha.
Well, I know that the doshi does that. But you have an idea? I mean, everybody that bows does this lifting of Buddha's feet.
From a standing position.
Yes.
Yeah, I've never seen that at San Francisco Zen Center, so it probably wasn't taught from the beginning in this lineage, but it also seems like a beautiful thing to do. Yeah.
I'll keep doing
Yeah.
Good question. Yeah,
You're gonna go into the next section?
I'm gonna go into the next section, which is the chanting section. And the two chants that we're gonna do today is the Metta Sutta and the Enmei Juku Kondyo. And I just want to point out one thing about the bells. If you look in the square of the Metta Sutta, you'll see 3 red bells, which indicates the large bells. And there's 2 blue dots, which indicates the small bells. And then there's a stop at the very end. And you'll notice that
between the Metta Sutta and the Enmei, that it's very similar, that there's three bells, three red bells, or three large bells and two small bells. So that's pretty consistent with most sutras or chants that we do. So it's something to just kind of remember that it's like, it's gonna be the same for each chant, pretty much.
Shall I say something about what it is? And show from here what they mean, those three?
I was gonna.
You're gonna do it?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I was gonna.
You do it, I'll demo.
Okay, so as the chant progresses, you'll see that there's the first red dot. And the first red dot indicates to the doshi that they can go into shashu, from the gasho to the shasho.
Because they come back from offering and they're in shashu like this, and they are through the start of the chant.
Gotcha.
And gasho, yes, thank you. In gasho. And then when that bell,
The first bell
we'll ring it.
goes to.
That's what that one is. So in the beginning of almost all the chants, you'll hear that. Or do it if you're the Doan.
And so the chant progresses and you get to the second large bell. And that indicates to the doshi, or it indicates to the Doan that the doshi is going to go up and do another offering.
Now, the way we do it, who's in charge of that bell?
Well, it seems like, it's like I strike it on strong.
Yeah,
And so then I see the doshi go up.
yeah, because we don't do the service often enough. And so we forget when to go, or I do, when to go up. So the doshi, that first bell in the middle, it tells the doshi to go up and make the offering. And so the Doan leads that one. Most of the bells, well, some of them, anyway, you're gonna do it. So why don't you do it?
So that's on strong. And then the doshi goes up and does her offering. And there's a second, the last large bell, which
Oh, I shouldn't have come back. Sorry, I got hurried.
which indicates that the offering is completed. And if you're just getting used to being a Dohan, just go ahead and put it on wish. And also know that when you get more into the Doan role, that it's actually indicating when the doshi steps back and goes back to her back of the mat.
Are there questions about that?
Is a doshi always a person that, is it just a function, or is it only a person that's
It's-
ordained, or?
It's the priest. Do you want to say something about that, Chris?
In this tradition, the doshi is someone who is ordained as a priest.
You never find anybody else doing that?
In this tradition, it's part of the mandala.
Okay, and no service takes place if the doshi isn't there.
Or you could do it without a doshi.
You could chant.
Yeah, you could just pretend.
Yeah, yeah.
And I know this, but we keep chanting while all this is.
Yeah, you're chanting, all the chanting's going on, but this is what's happening, and those inner bells always show that an offering's been made. That's what's important to know. An offering is being made on all of our behalves and behalf of all beings for well-being. But you keep chanting, but if you are the Doan, you pay attention, and we're just prepping you to be Doans. We really want you to do it.
So you'll notice that there's two final small bells at the end of the chant. And those are basically warning bells, it seems like to me, that it's like, okay, we're almost ready to finish this one bell. And then the final bell is that it's very close to being finished. And then at the very end of the chant, there's a stop.
And that first little bell also tells the doshi, put your hands back up and gasho, we're almost done.
Okay.
You know, because I don't know.
Now, at the very end of the Metta Sutta, there's the stop, and then there's a little X. And the little X means that the next chant is somebody's going to be using the Mukukyo, so it's more of a rhythmic chant. And so after the stop, then the person that's playing the Mukukyo will just hit it one time, and so you'll know that this is what's happening.
Yeah.
And the Enmei is pretty much the same bell situation as the Neva Sutta. The only change is that because this is it's a chant of 7 verses, the same verse is repeated 7 times. On the 5th repetition of the Enmei, there's a bell which indicates to the doshi that she can go up and make an additional offering. And then no matter for me as a dohon, it's like I'm just waiting for that second bell to be the beginning of the 6th verse. So I'm not really paying attention to where she is at that point. I'm just going to do it right on that. So
Why? Why?
Tell me.
You know, the reason is because we all get lost. And because, you know, we repeat it over and over, oh God, I don't know which number I'm on. And so the first bell, that is the one telling the doshi to go up to make the offering. And the second bell is the one for the offerings over, except sometimes it doesn't coincide because it depends how fast the chant is going. But it says, okay, that first one, we're on the 5th repetition. The next one, we're on the 6th. And so then the last one, there's no bell but so you know where you're at. Because it's easy to be lost.
But it looks like there's 2 little bells at the bottom.
Right.
Right.
And
yes.
And that's the same 2 bells that are in the Metta Sutta, which tells everybody we're getting close to the end.
Yeah, do you see those in the Metta Sutta too? It's the same.
Yeah.
Getting close to the end, put your hand up, you got to show doshi.
And then we continue on, and then the final small bell indicates that we're really very close. And then there's the stop, which indicates the end of that whole chant. So then, does anybody have any questions about chanting?
So you're the one that keeps you're counting.
The person that's playing the drum keeps the count, and you chant on each beat of the drum. So everybody,
You're saying you don't want are counting the verses.
Yeah, you
1, 2.
all right, well, I put my fingers out so that I know that where we're at. Yeah, absolutely. So, yes.
When does it start going faster?
Gradually.
Well, it's like, I think everybody kind of does this a little bit differently. I do the same rhythm because I want to get people in the mood of this, this chant. So the first 3 verses, I go kind of like walking pace. But then I start speeding it up on the 4th and the 5th and 6th, and by the 7th, it's like I'm really going to town. So,
Yeah.
and so, yeah, because basically the idea around this chant is to build energy, and so we speed it up so that we build energy. So, any other questions? Anybody online have a question? I'm not seeing anything. Okay.
Constance,
Yes.
what does it mean? And
Oh.
you come. Yeah,
You know,
because I don't know the translation to this, or I have forgotten it.
well, I have actually a translation. But I don't know where I got it from. So, but it's, I found it probably a couple of years ago, and I can read it to you.
Yeah, just the flavor at least.
It's basically a call to Avalokiteshvara to come and be with us to help us. But here's the translation. Kanzeon, I venerate the Buddha. Buddha is my source. Buddha is my affinity. Affinity with Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. Constancy, ease, assurance, purity. Morning, my thought is Kanzeon. Evening, my thought is Kanzeon. Thought after thought arises in the mind. Thought after thought is not separate from mind.
Kanzeon is Kuan Yin.
Kuan Yin or Avalokiteshvara.
Thank you.
And
I realized I've never heard what the chanting
That's-
it all these years, and
I
it
know.
occurred to me to wonder what it meant.
that's from Kaz Tanahashi's book on Zen forms.
Yeah.
Oh,
On
okay,
chants, and
okay,
chants, yeah. We'll
okay,
go on
so
to the next
to the
section,
next section.
pretty quickly, we'll go through, this is the ending part of the service. Skip the chant part, because I'm gonna do that in a minute. I'll just
Okay.
go to the ending bells that
Well, I
started.
just want to say one thing about the third section is the dedication of merit. And that's usually involves an echo. The echo can be short, it can be long, it can include the being and the safe passage list. So it can be a little variety of things. And then the final section is the closing. And it's a little bit similar to the beginning, except it's a little different. So we're chanting all Buddhas at that time, and then so there's a bell at the end of do you want to just sing? Should we just?
Well, yeah, I am gonna do that in a minute, but just briefly, there's bells and the bells and the dochi's gonna go up and make another offering. There's gonna be bells connected to that and roll down, and then the final bells, right?
Right, and so what she said is the roll down is, it's like when people look at this piece of closing material, it's kind of confusing because the roll down, it's the same as we said at the beginning, the roll down is just that you want to give people an opportunity to put their bowing cloths down.
Mhm.
And then after the doshi is finished with all of her 3 bows.
So, well, we all bow together,
Right.
one. And there's another one, 2,
And then,
and that's the last one. And the forehead touch.
oh, right. And then after she does her bows, there's another 4 small bells.
Do you see that on the back page? The very last ones? Okay,
When the doshi steps back,
and does this?
so then she gets a bell.
Okay, when the doshi, on that bell, when the doshi steps back and bows to the Buddha in Gasho, everybody turns and bows to the Buddha, all of us, we all
The
do
altar.
that. Turn toward the altar, toward the Buddha and bow.
And then the second bell,
Then in Shashu,
and then we bow to each other.
yeah, that's straight across to each other.
And then there's 2 final bells. The doshi, after that second bell, she goes back to her seat.
Maybe, well, Chris doesn't. Chris, you just stand there and bow to everybody and there's 2 bells.
Right, and so then the last 2 bells are very important.
Mm,
And
ding.
and that ends the ceremony.
Constance,
Yes,
there's something I've been wondering about. I remember originally being instructed that during the whole service, we're facing each other. And it's only at the end we all turn towards the altar. And it seems like we're kind of all on a different channel with that. So what do you want us to do?
well, I think, for me, it's like we just kind of do our thing,
Well, sort of.
This is a good place to come in and I want to be aware
Yeah,
of time.
Yeah, because I want to
This-
teach a little
Yeah,
chanting.
no, I know, so I'm gonna keep it short is if you go to San Francisco Zen Center, people are very well trained.
Right.
People who are the doans and people come to service every day. And it's like a well-oiled clock and there's a beauty to it. we are not that. And that's that kind of thing that's true, and and we've been slowly immersing ourselves in the forms, and that actually is one of the next ones to come up, is there is a form, and the will teach it, so it's and you give people too much and it's just gonna be confusing. So what I want to say is, I love messes. I mean, it's do it with whatever you do with your whole heart. And we're doing it together, and it's really beautiful. And it's beautiful that somebody could walk in and not know anything about this, and we want them to feel included. Somebody said to me yesterday, Tuesday, that they never felt included, they never knew how to kind of get into Zen Center's services because they always felt on the outside, because it was this thing everybody knew how to do. What I feel is, let's all learn how to do this, and it's about joining together. And it's about whatever you do it with your whole heart, and help, like, show the chant book to the person next to you,
Yes,
where you
right.
are, and it's like, help each other. It's about heart, and chanting Marianne will do that. And so again, don't set yourself up against something here. This is it's kind of like, so you can just enter the dance, and then just follow what's happening. You're more than fine, and trust me, Buddha is infinitely forgiving.
Well, that's the whole reason why we can just come and do our best, because everything is forgiving, and it's all, I would say, praise or admiration, or what it all is, whether we make a misstep or a wrong bell, it's all accomplished already. In Zen Center, they do tend to face straight across, and then but I found a quote of Suzuki Roshi where he said, everybody's missing, they're just staring like that, they're missing the beautiful service going on. So I personally always kind of turn and watch the service, because I mean, what's the point? So feel free to enjoy watching the beautiful service. So if I was at the far end, I would kind of be turned so I could see what was going on. I'm not gonna be not watching it. So just that. Can I go ahead into chanting?
Yeah, I just want, my understanding is Suzuki Roshi trained at a Heiji, which is where all the Japanese priests train, but he ran a small family temple.
Yeah.
And so when he came to San Francisco Zen Center, after he had established and people came to sit, and he felt like people had something happening in their bodies, heart, he invited another teacher in to teach all the forms. So, and in some ways, it's a conversation between the forms and the heart, which was Suzuki Roshi. And I think that's an ongoing conversation that we all are having. So, Suzuki Roshi knew it, but it wasn't. Yeah.
The sweet little old guy.
Yeah.
So we don't have much time left. I'd like to say much more about chanting than I'm going to, because we're running out of time. But basically, there's two kinds of chanting. The stuff we do together of the chants, which is pretty much, it's all on one tone, and you don't breathe at the punctuation. And we're going to practice that in a moment. And the reason is, we want to, all of us together, create one solid cushion of sound. And so chanting is not speaking. It's like, if I read this Metta Sutta, turn to the Metta Sutta, everybody. And if I do, this is what should be accomplished by the one who is wise, who seeks the good and has obtained peace. That's speaking, right? And I inflect it. But if I'm chanting, I'm gonna be like singing where I connect the tone, my breath keeps going. So it would be, this is what should be accomplished by the one who is wise, who seeks the good and has obtained peace. Let one be strenuous, upright, and sincere, without pride, easily contented, enjoy. Now, I breathe. You gotta breathe, right? But I didn't breathe at the punctuation, because if we breathe at the punctuation, like we all think we want to do, because we're conditioned to, you'll have pauses and it'll slow down and you won't have that cushion of sound. But if we all breathe randomly, not at, but specifically avoid punctuation, if I stop the chant for a moment, you'll keep going and the whole thing will be perfect. Let's chant together up through the line where it says, not desire great possessions even for one's family. And why don't we stand up? And chant this. You just have support from your diaphragm as best as you can, it's not, don't get tense or tight about it, but imagine you're having a great time doing a sing along with your friends, except nobody can do anything but one note. So how cool is that? So it's like, let's do the introduction. I'll introduce it and we'll go into that chant together. Metta Sutta, this is what should be accomplished by the one who is wise, seeks the good and has obtained peace. Let one be strenuous, upright, and sincere, without pride, easily contented and joyous. Let one not be submerged by the things of the world. Let one not take upon oneself the burden of riches. Let one's senses be controlled. Let one be wise, does not puff up, and let one not desire great possessions, even for one's family. Wonderful, wonderful. Could you feel that?
Yes.
Yeah, and another thing, maybe my pitch isn't what you like. I was at, this is what, if you want it higher, go higher. This is what should be, and we can have harmony. It's like loud. So if you can't get onto the pitch, try to find one that sort of fits in, that meets what you need. Like somebody was lower than I was. That's okay. Just keep it going. Try to fit the pitch of the Tokyo, but it is nice to make some harmony if you can go up a little or down a little. Okay, we're running out of time. We got to do the service. I'm just going to say one other thing. If you go to the second page, second, see that little arrow? The up arrow?
Yeah.
This is all stuff that the Tokyo's gonna chant. So if you ever take this role as the Tokyo, you would know this. That up arrow means your pitch is going up a half step. It's like I would be saying, we dedicate the merit of our practice, our chanting and bowing to planet Earth and her many beings. We respectfully, and I'll go along all the way until down on the next page. It comes to, may we together, the down arrow, and I go down. All of that with the raised pitch is the dedication. We offer all our blessings, our love, our practice to whoever is in this raised pitch area. Also, one more thing, then your question, in the raised pitch part, when the Kokyo is doing the stuff by her or himself, they do breathe at punctuation. They keep the pitch all the same. So it's like, let's see, may we awaken Buddha's compassion and luminous mirror wisdom. You can hear the resonance